Okay, good evening. Hopefully my audio levels are fine. Yeah, so today we're going to be doing a VOD review of moneymerks' first VOD review. He's been part of the community for a little bit here, but still a relatively new player, but his times have been improving rapidly, and he's been practicing mostly the spring tournament flag. So I know recently he's been doing a little bit of 64-32 practice, but this is from a little while ago where he did some pods. So we're going to take a look at his pods play and see if there's anything we can do. I think Money's hanging on in chat, so I hope you're doing well, Money. If there's anything in particular you want me to cover, I know that in like the pregame chat you mostly mentioned you just want general things that I pick up, which I'll absolutely do. But if there's any questions you have along the way, or like, hey, should I make A or B or whatever, I'm definitely watching chat. So yeah. And yeah, with that, let's get started. So I think you're playing Open Party, so we'll see what the blurses are and what you decide to pick up here. I'll probably, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll just want to see what I have to say. So I'll probably slow it down a little bit in the early game once you pick your party, but let's do this first. Okay, so White Mage plus MP, MDef, Luck, Agility, Red Mage, White Mage, Black Mage. Okay, so nothing too crazy here. The fighter's okay. Yeah, no problem, no problem. Fighter is pretty good with plus MDef. That's a nice benefit. But this is, I think I would probably go fighter, black belt, red mage, black mage, or just like black belt, red, black, black. I don't think the blurs really change much here. The one constant I think is no white mage for sure. Unless you're going to go fighter Oreo, which is also totally fair. Yeah, this is fine. Small thing I would say here, you want to put your black mages beside each other. So always go like fighter, black mage, white mage, because it speeds up your menuing efficiency. Because that way you're going to be doing something for the fighter, which is either going to be run or fight. Then you're going to be casting usually the same spell with both your black mages, so you can menu the same way twice in a row, and then the white mage will be last, which is usually going to be doing something different. So I always put my black magic casters together. So whether it's like fighter red black black, or fighter black black red, or um, fighter red black white, or something like that. So just a small note. I do like putting the white mage to start in the back row though. Okay, well, I need to slow this down temporarily so we can watch your early game. Because early game, there's usually a lot of stuff that we can improve for newer players. Cool. Yep. Don't need to buy any. No, no, no. We don't need to pick up harm. Harm 1 does nothing, so just ignore that. This is an easy fire 2 warp. And then you have money and lock 2 is cheap, so I would buy lock 2 as well. Cool. So far, so good. Um, So this is the most classic of all classic Jet things, but just there's no reason to check the weapon shop here. You have sweeper magic for the early game, and if you don't find anything in Provoca, maybe you can check the Provoca weapon shop, but you don't need anything for your knight. You already have Fire 2. That's going to clear everything out in the early game that you care about. The only time you check the okay, but I would check the armor shop. The reason you check the armor shop is because chainmail is incredibly valuable in the early game, and you want to track exactly pro rings, gold bracelets, and silver bracelets if silver bracelets rolled up and gold bracelets rolled down. So you want those three items in your head, and then you want chain armor for the early game because chain armor is super good on the fighter early. It goes from 0 absorb up to like 16 sometimes, depending on the blurses. So that can be super good just to increase your early game survivability. In pods, I don't like to pick up a cabin. The only time you pick up a cabin is if you want to save outside of Toph, and that's only if you want to full clear it. But that's okay. And if you are going to go there, it's slightly faster to walk out to the right from the shop and then come back in and save. There's some free steps here if you want to take them, but I think that's pretty minor. So you can just look up a map of that if you're curious. Okay, so you're saving outside of Toph, and then you're going in. So this is good. This is fine. This is the only reason you check for an early cabin. Nope. Please don't equip that silver knife. It does literally nothing. Your fighter's not swinging anyways. That's just wasted time. That Opal plus 3 is 100% worth equipping, though. Yeah, that is 100% worth equipping. So hopefully so far my things are making sense. So just as a heads up, where I would be right now, I would have killed Garland about around the 1 minute mark, 1010. So you're about 50 seconds behind, but I wouldn't have gotten that Opal bracelet, so there's some trade-offs there. You were about 20 seconds slow going out of Provoca. or out of Canaria. Cool. Okay, Rod Crown. So Crown is definitely a consideration to turn in. Um, but yeah, and I. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is fair. And then I like, yeah, this usually. So I go pick up my stuff now, so I don't check it on the way out, and then I check it out. I grab some stuff when I come back after killing Garland, after I have a little bit more money. But this is fine. Yeah, that's a good amount of peers to buy, and just slightly faster once again to go right there. Cool. Um, so I guess I have a question. I don't know what level you consider yourself at, but do you understand encounter manipulation and how it works? Oh, hello, cat. Hello, Artie. Meow. Okay, well, we'll just keep going, but encounter manipulation is probably something that's going to be of value at some point. It might not be the first thing you need to learn, and I don't know. Okay, yeah, if you mean if I, it's I mean resetting, but in particular I mean reset. It's like alternating hard and soft resets depending on what the encounter table looks like, is what I'm talking about. So this is a really good example because there's a ton of encounters bunched up here, which would really have a high benefit of encounter manipulation. So basically, the way the encounter table works is after every, if you start when you start the game, there's X amount of steps until you get your first encounter, and then there's going to be another encounter after another Y steps, and etc. 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 And every single time you hard reset the console, you go back to the beginning. So if there's a few really quick encounters at the beginning and then a long run, you can hard reset and then soft reset out of those first few encounters, because when you soft reset, your pointer stays. So your pointer starts when you hard reset, it goes to the beginning. As you progress through the seed, it keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. If you soft reset, the pointer stays where it is. If you hard reset, it resets back to the beginning. So what you can do is you can hard reset back to the beginning, go through until you get the early encounters, soft reset on those early encounters so this keeps going, and you skip those encounters essentially, and then hit a long run. And it looks like here there's about 4 encounters that are all within about like 20, 30 steps of each other, which could be really, really big time save if you can skip them on the overworld. So just something to consider. There's lots of videos on encounter manipulation, and vets love to talk about it, but I'm not sure yet if you're ready. If it's like, it's not that you're ready for. It's like not like, oh, you're too stupid to understand. No, no, no. It's if that's the next thing that's going to increase your times the most. If that's what you should be focusing. I'm not sure yet based off your play. So um, I won't say it's like definitely the thing, but it's probably something you might want to like consider taking a look at. Okay, I more or less knew all that. Now I know more. Okay, cool. So you'll see you hard reset. Okay, that's good. Yeah, and then soft resetting is kind of the next step. It looks like there's like an okay-ish run on the hard reset, but it's not great. Okay, cool. So you have enough money. Generally speaking, in Provoca, you want to kill the pirates first. But here you got your people back up, so that's fine. The reason you want to kill the pirates first is so you have more money to buy spells. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. You really want to buy Quad X there. Quad X is really powerful, and it can be like a huge thing on grinds. It can be a big save. It can even beat like Topher bosses and stuff like that when necessary. So Quad X is 100% a buy, especially at level 2 when there's no other good magic. So you've had a little bit of bad luck because a bunch of people have died for you. So that's that. But you're about a minute and a half off the pace right now. Maybe a little bit more than that. 2 minutes, maybe. I'm old school. Huh? Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. When Quad X is like what, level 7, then yeah, screw Quad X. But Quad X at level 2 is really good. Um, yeah, sure. I don't usually spend the time to buy caps, but whatever. I think I would actually. The most important thing to pick up here is actually this wood armor +3. It's actually like 7 absorb for your knight, which is really good. Remember, chest armor blursing is multiplied is more. It's times 2 per absorb instead of times 1. So although the cap's higher, it's actually like 7 absorb on the wood armor versus only 4 for the cap. Um, Anyways, this is a pretty easy Matoya turn in. Um, Getting lost. So you can see here the reason why I advocate for the black mage, white mage. It's because both black mages will be casting fire 2 a lot of the time, right? Wait, where are we going? Whoa, 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 whoa. What is this decision? Why aren't we doing the crystal? Yeah, so this is just not a good decision, obviously. I was actually I was actually going to recommend going crystal to crown instead of maybe going to Crescent Lake, but oh, okay, you reset. So we're going, okay. Oh, you are encounter manipulating. Okay, good stuff. Kind of odd. So to simplify encounter manipulation, a lot of the time you just want to identify where the long run is and just memorize whatever the encounter manipulation is to get the long run. Now keep in mind that encounter manipulation is different on the sea than on the overworld. It's got the same, so the way encounter table actually works is it's actually a sequence of numbers and there's a threshold. So if you think of the threshold as 10 and the numbers range from 1 to 12, whenever it's above 10 you get an encounter. That's essentially how it works. The sea has a higher threshold, or lower in actuality, but higher for the sake of this analogy, which means that some encounters that you get on the land you won't get on the sea. So you want to learn slightly differently, whether it's like burn 1 or burn 0 on the sea versus the land. So I learned them both individually, but that's relatively minor. Um, okay, cool. So yeah, so obviously here adamant turn into crown turn is really good. One of the big, oh, I would save after that, but that's pretty small. One of the big things is that the Astos, you really want to be killing with Quad X. Astos has high MDEF, but doesn't actually resist anything, so Quad X is really, really good against him. Today we are drinking some decaf black tea with milk. Also, don't forget you have level 1 warp. So, like when you're in Matoya's cave, for example, you can warp out. When you're in Dwarf Cave, you can warp out. Things like that. Yes, you have limited fire 2 cast, and you have to kill Astos, so maybe it's better not to, but using warp outside of dungeons is something that I find a lot of new players don't do, and it's a huge time save. Yep, check these boxes. Wow, really nice. Oxia, okay, so obviously not going to solve your early game problems. Equip your ribbon. Cool. Yeah, that's a reasonable choice to put it on your black mage for now. I really don't like how little you're saving, though. Um, Whenever you like do a key item turn in or do a lot of walking, you really do want to be saving. This is really dangerous. Oh, are you gonna die? Am I gonna get to be? Wow, you're lucky these creeps do nothing because otherwise this would be death. This is so dangerous. Also, this party sucks at running. Okay, so there's a massive run here, which is what I would be trying to get to, but cool. So yeah, so far I think whoa, 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 whoa. You buy Fade in slot 1 always here, right? Because you always want Fade in the first slot so that way you can cast it as efficiently as possible, which I think is what you ended up doing, but just keep that in mind. So generally I advocate going south there because I'd like to check the item shop before I check the magic shops, because buying the shop item is more important than buying level 4 magic, especially when we already have nuke, warp, etc. But it's pretty small. I might have picked up a soft there because you don't have one yet, but it's not a big deal either. Okay, so I don't think you have levels for nuke, right? You might. Okay, you do. Cool. Oh, you have levels on one mage, but that one mage should be enough. Nice. Okay, loot. So I think so far, couple notes. So it looks like your understanding of encounter manipulation is good, but not great, which is fine. I think for the stage in the game you are right now, it's pretty good. You definitely need to be thinking a little bit, just slightly further ahead in terms of like how you're going to manage your key item like turn-ins in the inner C, deciding whether you're going counterclockwise or clockwise, but that's pretty okay. And then of course just spell selection, spell ordering. I think those are some small things you can work on. But overall, it's not too bad. I will say that your decision making is probably just like slightly on the slow side because you're about 12-18 here, but your menuing doesn't seem to be terrible for a new player, so I'd say it's pretty okay for your current state of the game. Ooh, this is yeah. There's no save items at Elfland. You're about to be very sad, aren't you? Hmm. I actually like burning some charges here to try and get some more nuke charges. Up until about level 6, level 7, taking fights in the inner sea is totally fine, and then after that you're just gonna get basically no experience that matters. So, but like, let's take a quick look back at this. So, I just want to look at your time for this fight was fine. So, 1304. So that was almost 14 seconds. More like 13 seconds. That was 13 seconds to cast what was an immediate run fire two for me. So that's you just lost like 10 seconds there. So yeah, that's where the indecision's coming into play, and that's where just knowing what spells you have available. I think what I would suggest thinking about is like having a quote unquote default. So in your case, the default is just to cast Fire 2, and now once you get like one more level, your default's going to be to cast Nuke, right? Um, okay, so you are encounter manipulating, which is good. I don't know if you're encounter manipulating to the right part of the table, but that's okay. I would really rather go to Marsh here. So the reason I would rather go to Marsh here, yes, you have no save items, but the reason you'd rather go to Marsh here is you have level 1 Warp, you have level 1 Fire 2, and you have Nuke. Those are all the tools, like 100% of the tools, and you have Exit. You have all the tools you need to be able to go take out Marsh, and you want to do that while you're here, because otherwise you're going to Crescent Lake. If you don't get the floater there, you're going to get the ship or the canal, and then you want to go to ice next, but you much rather not do ice and do marsh instead. So this is just setting you up for like really awkward routing where your two locations are on opposite sides of the inner sea instead of doing marsh, crescent, like ice, which is a linear path. So that's where the yeah, but you also have no cabins for yeah, I guess so. It just seems I guess so. I guess you can get cabins in Crescent Lake now. I guess that comes down to like earlier route planning more than the decision making at that time. No need to check weapon shops again. Oh, you're selling? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, this is fine to sell those. Good couple $1,000. Nothing you care about. Invis 2 is okay there. Nothing you care about. Keep in mind that Zap isn't actually a bad spell if you don't have like nuke and stuff in the early game. Just like put it on your radar of spells that can get you through the early game. But okay, so unfortunately now oh, you do use warp. Okay, that's good. Okay, so it looks like you definitely have some it seems like you have pretty good understanding of like what you can do, but the execution just still needs some like reps for practice, I guess. So that's okay. I think Clementitas, I was just talking to him, but something that I told him is to try and take a few levels around Crescent Lake if you're under leveled, but I think you're okay for levels, so it's not too bad. I would probably just go. Okay, so you got your cabins, you got your ship going to Marsh. This is fine. Where are you going? Oh, oops. Not much to say there. It's like getting looped, you know? It's like, oh, what's the teachable moment here? Don't do that. Okay, it's not really helpful, so we will continue on. So yeah, a lot of it seems like you know the two. Yeah, using Zap for early games. I feel like you know a lot of the things you need to be doing. It's just like having your brain be able to come up with the right decision in a fast enough manner just isn't happening yet. But that's just 100% come through reps. And it looks like your habits aren't too bad, which is really good. Do you know about free steps? Okay, so it doesn't look. If you do, you're not executing on it, but maybe you just don't. So I'll quickly take a second to explain it here once we get to this. Okay, so in this room, the the steps in front of, below, and on the door are free. And then all steps on the bottom of rooms inside dungeons are free. Okay, so if you walk like up here, and then you walk across here, and then you walk straight up, you're taking one, two, three left steps than if you walk up and to the right. And yes, it's only 3 steps, but if you do that in every room in every dungeon, it adds up to a lot, and that can add up to multiple encounters, which can add up to a lot of more safety. If you wipe, it's like minutes. If you don't wipe, it's still 20, 30 seconds a dungeon if you avoid one extra encounter. So it can really add up. It's not something that I think is the biggest time save you have right now, but I would encourage you to start thinking about it because it's good to form the right habits when you're doing pathfinding. Excuse me, through rooms. So along the bottom up here. So you actually did it right on the way back, but I think it was unintentional. Same thing in this room. This room's a pain to do the right pathfinding, but it's up, right, up, up, right, down, right, down. It sucks. Okay. I would probably just reset. Exit's also valid here. Warp is okay too. Okay, that's fair. So I know there's that massive run in the encounter table here, so that's what I would be trying to get onto before I dove Marsh. But I think your understanding of the encounter table is probably just not quite good enough yet. So I don't think that's what you need to be working on right now, but just like a consideration to try and get to that massive run. So a couple more free steps. So same thing in the room that had the stairs, there was some more free steps on the thing. On this side, the fastest route down is to actually walk left down here, come down this way, and then you want to step right here because it's a free step. So you come down, right, and then down. This room, of course, follow the door. Good. And then have you seen the marsh guide? There's a player a route guide. Let's see if I can find it. Um, Here we go. This is what you want. So this is the definitive guide for Marsh. Um, the reason this is what you want to do is for a couple of reasons. One, it uses all the free tiles in front of the door. Two, it saves as many steps as possible. And 3, it doesn't open the link chest. So you can see here that this chest, this A chest is marked, and this H chest is marked, but we don't open either of them. That's because they're linked to other chests that are along the fastest route. And in pods, you never want to open any of the key locks. So we always just are going to route this blue path here, and then we follow the without key path up here and right. Um, this is actually incorrect. You want to take a step to the right and up here because it saves you 1 step, but whatever. Yeah, so there you go. And you can see this on the resources section if you find it. So continuing. So yeah, so there's you checked a link chest there. You took an extra step there because you went up instead of right and up. So this was 2 steps, and if you went right and up, it's only 1 step. You just took extra steps there for fun. There's your incentive item, and you found a masa, which is really good. Okay, cool. And you exited out. So that chest to the right there was actually the link chest, so if you had opened it, it would have been empty anyways, but I like the decision to exit out there. I was just yelling at Shumbobby for opening greed boxes and wiping in marsh and ice because of it, so when you don't really have the tools, it's generally good to just peace out as soon as you can, even though sometimes you'll just leave a ribbon. I'll often finish clearing the room. This does not apply in Monster in a Box, but I'll often finish clearing the room, but I usually won't go to another room or take like anything that's more than like the dead pulse rule of like 3 seconds away. So ice has your canal or your key, one or the other. Your levels are just like slightly low for ice though, so I might debate get it going around Crescent Lake a little bit. But you have nuke, you have fade, you have exit, you have warp, so ice is fine. Good river system navigation, by the way. The river system is one of the most important places to know how to encounter manipulate for, but it's fine. This is not a bad time. Usually, generally speaking, the full clear inner sea play is somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, depending on the spells and warp and exit and all that, and how much key item turns you have to do. So this is not a bad time. And see, this is what I was talking about again with the fire 2s being in a row. Harm 3 paying off. Mages have a lot of MDef, so yeah. Be very, very, very careful using spells this early in Ice Cave. You really want to be running. Here you swing with the Masa, but you really do want to be running for the most part just to make sure that you have Fade charges and Harm 3 charges and things left, because the worst thing that can happen is you hit some type of spike tile where you really need to use them, like, and then you can't get away. So running is your friend here, and that's why you bring 2 black mages, right? That being said, um, using your charges to try and create more safety is not a bad play, but just in general. Oh, does that white mage have improved MP? That's amazing. I'd be running with both your mages here. You don't really want to be killing this, but I mean, the walking grind is fine. So the reason I'm saying you don't really want to be killing things is because the ice enemies are worth like EXP. I rather kill things in waterfall or kill things in ordeals than in ice. And the danger level is super, super high because there's a large variety of enemies which have a lot of different things and skills and spells they can roll. So in general, Ice Cave, if you run from every single battle except for like sorcerers, you're probably doing well. Um, I do not try and get levels in Ice at all. I try and get in and out as fast as I possibly can. So here I'm sure you're knowledgeable about or not. So this is like the easiest warp trick in the world here. Like you definitely want to be warp tricking here. So do you know what the warp trick is? Yeah, God, I can't. Okay, so you know what the warp trick is. So you have warp here, right? So you definitely want to fall down this hole and warp back up and check these 3 chests for free. There's just yeah, there's just no reason to fall here. So definitely use the warp trick there. You actually want to swing with the Masa there, but that's fine. This is the DVS route, which is checking the 6-pack first, which I think is somewhat reasonable. I still check the 2-pack on the left, but I think this is a valid play. Good. So you start to seem to like running a little bit more later, but you didn't. Oh, I see. You're gonna check the 2-pack on the way out. Okay, interesting. Okay, so you get the canal. That ice routing was just not good. And also, once again, here you want to be using exit, right? This is just potential death, and you just lose like 4 minutes if you die. Whoa, this is greedy. Okay. So I know you need a ribbon, but with the Masa, you're almost set for endgame already. The fighter, the biggest thing, the most unmitigatable, irreplaceable thing in the game is a sword. And you have a sword. You have a Masa. You have the best sword. So chests are like way lower priority, and I would not be like running my level 10 party that far for 3 extra chests for a chance at. There's 2 items that we care about. There's ribbons and defense. Those are the only items. There's 4 items in the pool out of 200 and something. Um, I don't know, 100? I can't, I'm getting Link to the Past mixed up. Maybe 100, 150, 160, whatever. But there's like, there's 4 items out of all those, and those 3 chests having it's very unlikely. So I would not be doing that. I would just be clicking exit. Just exit. Oh god. So this is the type of thing where you might not have gotten punished, but this is potentially race losing just by walking out. So yeah, just fair warning. Anyways, you got out. You got the canal. We're good. Once again, this is not a bad time. For having exit and warp, it's slightly slow. I maybe would be out of the inner sea around 20, but you saw my pod races, so I can't really say much right now. But I'd say it's still slightly slow, but overall not too bad. I'd say for your level, it's looking pretty solid. Other than a couple, enemy decisions, spellbind decisions, not buying quad X, things are pretty good. Okay, usually out of the inner sea, I will play things at 2 times speed because that's when the decision making becomes more macro and less micro. So yeah, I don't know how much you've experimented with smaller party comms, but there's definitely a consideration there to let the black mage stay down. It has nuke though, so this is a totally reasonable 4-man comp um, with this particular seed. And the Masa makes it so that your party doesn't need to be that high level. You only need to be level 24 on your knight, so this 4-man comp is totally reasonable. I like the buying of stuff here. There's no real way to buy stuff outside the inner sea, so something I'm noticing you're doing a lot is you're like selling all your gear to keep your money total up, but I only sell gear when I need to buy something. Not because it's not a good decision, but it's just like the time you spend selling gear is time just it's just wasted time. So do, 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 do. Heal 3. Yeah, but what's a rainy day fund for? Right? Like most places where you're buying spells, you can sell gear. The only exception is on rack. And the only really bad thing that can happen to you is if you like need money for um, the shop item and it's in like Oasis or on rack. That's like the 2 bad cases there. But you're not even selling stuff for that much. It's like a couple thousand. If it was like, okay, I'm gonna sell the katana, sure, but like you're not broke and you're selling it for like 10% extra money. I just don't think it's a good use of your time at like I don't think it's a good use of your time to be like that preventative. Um, I find like one of the common newer player traps is to over manage their inventory rather than just manage it when necessary. So that means like overbuying, overselling, over equipping, over dropping, etc., etc., etc. Just like having very dedicated times to do it and trying to limit that as much as possible is a really good way to save time. Also, the same thing goes for town management. Like towns are another huge place where newer players lose time. Um, Elfland is especially bad. Yeah, you kill this. Cool. Small menu optimization there. On the first mummy, you can press up instead of down, and then your fighter will have his cursor here, and then you can move it up one more. So instead of going like down like 6 times, you can press up twice. Wyverns suck, but Masa is good. That's a linked chest though, just so you know. So most fighter comps don't check that because the only reason to check that is if you need a spike tile. If you're looking for a spike, that is a unique spike. So for black belts, it's usually worth a check, although it doesn't have safe steps, which makes it a little bit risky. But fighters usually don't check that. There's a small chance you spike the key item there, which is great. In which case you can just exit out. So maybe with exit you can also check it, but those are really the considerations on when you should check that versus when you shouldn't. Okay, so you're checking spikes. Let's talk. Let's talk about what the win condition for the fighter comp is. And the win condition is not spikes. You don't care about spikes really at all. You can check a couple if you want a few free levels, but for the most part, the fighter comp wants to get its levels on a walk and grind. You have nuke. You have a fighter with a masa. You probably want to be 4 manning to like 16, then you want to go down to like a 2 or 3 man and get your fighter to 24, and that is your win condition, full stop. To do that on this current scaling, you basically don't need to stationary grind at all. You just need to kill things as they come with nuke. So spike tiles, the time you're spending checking spike tiles is going to lose you more time, because if you're checking spike tiles, it's taking time. And then if you stationary grind, you're also taking time. The fighter comp wins when it doesn't have to stationary grind. So you're kind of playing against the advantages here. If you've been watching a lot of Spring Tournament, your mind might be polluted by the current Spring Tournament strats, but those are very, very black belt specific. Fighter strats are very different. And if you actually watch Spring Tournament 2020 instead of 2021, you're going to get a lot better idea about how most fighter comps operate. Watch like Cheesenator play or something. Not because he's the absolute best fighter player on the planet. He's a very good fighter player on the planet, but because he played more traditional comps, well, Crab Cakes and Spellzap played like all sorts of craziness. See, this you can kill the spike, so it's not like never take a spike tile. It's just like there's no reason to check them out, like go out of your way to check them. That's basically what I'm saying. So this third chest, this next chest is a link chest. That's the link chest to the bottom floor. And once again, I would probably just exit. The reason, once again, you don't really want to check spikes. If you die here, it's a huge waste of time, and the fighter doesn't need the EXP from like whatever's here, so I would just be exiting rather than taking this fight. This is good though. You nuked it. You got some free EXP. It's totally fine. Whoa! Why are we taking? Catmen are really dangerous, so I would not be like taking this multiple times. But there's an argument to be made to just like use your nukes and fades. I don't know why you're taking extra steps though. This is fine. I'm okay with this play. Do keep in mind, Catmen's not usually what you want to be like taking because they are dangerous. But okay, this should be the last time you take this. This is okay. I don't mind this. I don't mind this play at all. This is a very common play that I see like Deng Wu make and some of the other vets where they like will just use the remaining nukes and fades on the last spike tile. That should be shot that. So this is where you should be soft resetting. Even if you don't have the encounter table memorized, whenever you use a house and you get an encounter within like 3 steps, just soft reset and just keep going. But I know exactly where you are in the encounter table right now, and this is the 3 encounter in a row part before the super long run. So, or the 4 encounters and then the super long run. Yeah, here's the super long run. So I always, whenever you're going to check the Oasis shop, which is the correct play here, but you want to save on the river, so that way if there's nothing here, you can just reset back to it. In this case, maybe you just keep those houses anyways, though, so that's fine. You'll also see that because you were going to ordeals, you know how you're talking about money and having some money. Generally speaking, the best way to get money in this game is to kill things. Opening boxes in the very, very early game is good, but anywhere past like 20 minutes, generally speaking, you just want to kill late game mobs, and if you kill like 20 units, you're going to have like 20,000. So then you'll have more than enough money, even without doing like a stationary grind. So that's why also selling items once again isn't nearly as important. And like, even if you get to the caravan, most of the time I'll just go do waterfall, and I'll get the money in waterfall just by killing the enemies there, rather than like having the money. So something to keep in mind. Early money is really important, especially like before you leave the inner sea, but after that, money is almost never a concern, just because you get enough by killing enemies. I like that you buy houses though. That's really good. Houses are a good way to save a bunch of time. Hopefully, I'm not being too negative. Overall, for how long you've been playing this game, you're doing very, very well. But because of that, that means I get to start hitting on actual things, not like learn your maps and know what spells do. Taking some extra steps in Waterfall, but mostly okay. Yeah, portable hotel. So that gas dragon you 100% should be killing, or at least trying to kill. Masa, gas dragon, gift is a good combination. So swing your Masa at that gas dragon. It's worth a ton of EXP. Nuke though. So your fight selection's really not great. Um, all of these waterfall fights that you're running past are worth really solid EXP, and you have nuke, you have fade, you have Masa. I would have killed basically every single thing that you've passed right now. I would have killed. Versus your fight selection in ice was not so good. Those were like not good EXP fights. So you're like prioritizing the wrong fights. For the most part, you want to kill everything in waterfall. You want to kill most things in ordeals. because when you're going there, usually you're in this like these levels. Thunder has a guide on the resource site. Once again, let's see if I can find it. Fights. There we go. Take fights as you go list. And you'll see here that ordeals, um, zombie D sorcerers, man cats, whiz mummies, medusas, 2+ zombies, which are basically all of the enemies in ordeals. You want to take them anytime you're below level 18 to 20, which is every single time you're in ordeals, basically, right? Um, Waterfall, Ghasties, Perilous, Whiz Mummies, Nightmares, Mudgalls. 20 to 22, which is once again every single time you're in Waterfall, right? But Ice Cave, there's limited fights that you want to take in here, and they're only 16 to 18. So, and even then, I'd say you're so low level that a lot of the time the fights are just scary. So, just keep this in mind. Um, I I use a much simpler heuristic, which is I take 0 fights in Ice Cave unless it is um, mages and frosties, basically, if I can kill them easily. And then I take every fight in ordeals except for sometimes not zombies, and I take all fights in waterfall. So yeah, just all fights in waterfall I can kill. Sometimes you can't kill some of these. You know, perilous you want ice. These you want fire or harm. Nightmares you want ice. Mudgalls you need nuke or fade or high melee damage. Ghasties you need high melee damage or nuke or fade. So you know things to keep in mind. And once again, all these resources are available on the resource section. And see, like all the oh wow, see those Ghasties have no HP. All these things that I was mentioning, in Waterfall you have the charges, so you don't need to save your charges so much. And also, if you wipe in Waterfall, it's so much cheaper than if you wipe in Ice Cave. That's the other thing, right? You probably felt okay there after the deals from. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But once again, like take a it's because you're missing the high level strategic context for why you want those levels. It's not because you want those levels because you need more levels to do your next step, although having some more levels for C here would be very nice. It's because your fighter comp wants to walk and grind, and that is a good enough area to walk and grind in that you want to take as many fights as possible because you don't want to stationary grind with your fighter comp. So that's that like higher level concept of like your general fighter idea, which is you take all the fights in Ordeals, Waterfall, Sea, and Sky, and therefore you get high enough level for Topher so your fighter can swing a Masa at level 24. And I keep mentioning 24 because that's the Masa's 5 swing breakpoint. Okay, so shop item is in um, Gaia. I like the level 5 I like the black magic check here for fast. I don't like the white magic check so much, but I guess you haven't found life yet. Never mind. I like the white magic check too. Level 7, 8, you really should have a good reason for checking the magic. Just a heads up. So if like the default for level 7 and 8 magic is I don't check it. And then you only check it if you need to. Okay, so we're going to go Krakenside first. So the logic in Sea Shrine is you go Kraken side first if you can kill Kraken and you don't need levels in gear. You go Mermaid side if you can't kill Kraken and you need levels in gear. And default to going Kraken side first if you can kill Kraken, regardless of your EXP situation. So I think Kraken first here is fine because you can kill Kraken. It's a little sketchy, but you can kill Kraken. Nuke Fade Nuke will average about 600 damage and then he'll die the next turn, plus a Masa swing, so you should be fine. Unless you get like turn ordered, turn ordered. You can save a step there, but whatever. Cool. Cool. And you have not found any fighter gear. You can save a step there too by going to your right, but once again, pretty minor. Yeah, running from snakes is fine. Oh god. So when you realize that a fight is scary, what you should start doing is you should start casting at least one nuke on it just to make sure that you can get out safe. Um, but yeah. Also, with no life, you really want to be keeping your HP totals up high. So once again, here, that fight's definitely takeable. I know you need to save your fades and nukes, so it's a little bit both ways. But just keep in mind that all these fights that you're running from, although it's fast, you're making it so that you're going to have to do a stationary grind at some point, which is not really what you want to be doing. Um, Interesting choice of nukes and fades. So you decide to nuke the one with less sea trolls, which isn't a great decision. Just being one of my big, oh wow, that's really good. One of my big lessons is always just being deliberate, right? So like making conscious decisions on why I'm taking fights and why I'm not. Yeah, I do if I know a mob has crazy scripts. Okay, good. So you know defense is busted. Defense is probably it's the third best pickup for the fighter comp, and it's probably the single best pickup for the black belt comp. Um, so yeah, defense is amazing. So now that you're on the last floor, yeah, you definitely want to be like you can use a few more casts because you just have them. Um, you need to save like 2 casts of nuke and 2 casts of fade for Kraken, but that's basically it. So you're getting to that 2 cast, so you might wanna, yeah, okay. Well, you got good turn order. I think at this point you probably stop taking fights though, just because you're gonna run out of casts. Oh, you massa this. Too many casts. I guess your plan on Kraken is fighter instead of nukes and fades, which is fine. Just make sure you have a plan for, or is it Brack at level 5? I don't like the Brack strat too much because you have no invis, but defense is really good here. So, okay, defense is a good plan. So I think the play here is not what. So you have a couple different options for plays here. Option one, fighter in the top, defensing up, nuke, fade, nuke. But I don't love that. I think in many ways I would rather not defense up. I would just rather swing, nuke, fade, nuke, and go for that. That's one plan. Plan two is white mage, black mage, fighter. Fade, nuke, nuke, defense. And then fade, nuke, nuke, defense. And then fade, nuke, nuke, swing. I think those are your two kind of viable plans here. Just, you know, heads up. And something I'm noticing is that you didn't really have your plan set before you hit Kraken. So like I was thinking of your plan for Kraken as soon as I was like actually before I even got to Sea Shrine, I was thinking about can I kill Kraken? What's my plan for Kraken? But then as I went through when I picked the defense, my plan changed maybe. But you really want to have your plan for this fiend done before you even decide to go Kraken side first, right? So like my initial plan was Masa nuke, nuke, fade, and then with the defense, maybe it's nuke, fade, nuke, defense, nuke, fade, nuke, defense. So just like keep that in mind that you really want to have those plans. And for the most part, you have to decide between offense and defense, and then if you're defensive, you usually just want it to be more like a backup if your like primary nuke, fade, nuke plan fails. This is obviously going to work though because Kraken's doing nothing. Literally, Kraken's doing nothing. Okay, well, that was easy, but sometimes it's not going to be that easy. And keep in mind, my points are more about how to prepare for the worst case scenario, not for the best. Because a lot of the time, runners they only focus on things when they go bad. But I think it's far more important to focus on every decision point rather than just when something goes wrong. I like buying heals here. I should have bought heals there. um, so here I think you do a key turn in, right? You have no choice. Um, So there's a couple different options here. You either do the key turn in this way, but I think it's actually slightly better to go to the Matoya dock. So Matoya has that river, right? So there's like Matoya, and then there's the river underneath Matoya. You can dock on the river underneath Matoya with the canoe and the boat. So then you can go walk down to Canaria to turn the key in, because the key's either going to turn into the floater, in which case you just walk to the floater, or the key's going to turn into the chime, in which case you have to go to Sky. So that's why I slightly prefer docking at the Matoya dock because it's much, much, much better if you have to go to Sky. But this is, yeah, relatively minor. At this point in the seed, all these overroll encounters have 0 value to you, so you want to basically be encounter manipulating all of them away. But that's, it's fine. Okay, that is the exact scenario where inner sea docking is better. So, yay. The thing is, for me, there was only the herb and the TNT left, so the herb was the only one that's bad. Floater. cool. So your play did turn out to be better, although my play was not too bad. It's just walking around the inner sea. And then the worst case scenario is this, and it's okay. And the best case scenario is way better. Versus this, the best case scenario was this, which was okay, and the worst case scenario is terrible because you sailed all the ways up to the inner sea, and then you have to sail all the ways. Like going to Mirage from here is awful by boat. Slightly. Usually you want to just walk the floater rather than take the canal system. It's slightly faster if you're in counter manipulating. The canals are more dangerous, so um, yeah. Right. You can just walk from Elfland right around the south, which a lot of people never do, but it's better here. Hmm. You're an interesting player. Your like knowledge is good. I think you're someone who's probably played a lot of vanilla and you've also watched a decent amount. It seems like because you definitely have picked up some strategies for from more advanced players. But I also am seeing like some execution where I think it's just you haven't run that many seeds yourself, where you just like are struggling sometimes to make the correct decision in like the heat of the moment, and then you're just like button pressing execution is sometimes just a little bit off. So here you're checking grinds, which is I understand why you're doing this now, but it's just the wrong strategy for the fighter again, right? Mirage will generally give you some, or Mirage and Sky can give you anywhere from 3 to 4 levels depending on how many fights you take. And if you had taken all the fights in Waterfall, and if you had taken a few more fights in Sea, though you kind of ran out of fights in Sea to take, so I think that's fine. Um, your fighter comp could be pretty close to 24, but this is okay. If you ever need a few more fights, rather than taking grind tiles, just take a few fights in the desert. It's usually faster than checking these grinds, but this is also chess, so it's fine. You still haven't found a ribbon. Um, oh, never mind. You're just opening boxes. I don't love that. The reason I don't love that is because you still need to go open chests in Sky, and you only really need one item, which is a ribbon here. Um, you've already found the defense. You've already found a Masa. There's no other items that matter except for really a ribbon. I guess you have like no armor either, but whatever. You can always equip the gold. You can buy gold bracelets and pro rings. Remember how way back I was talking about gold bracelets and pro rings, right? So you can always just equip gold bracelet, gold bracelet, gold bracelet, opal bracelet, ribbon, pro ring, and then your like armor's totally fine. I know you're looking for a ribbon, right? But you still have not cleared Sky yet, so you don't need a ribbon for Sky usually. You need a ribbon for Topher, which means that you want to clear Sky first to see if you're going to get a ribbon there, and then only keep only go to like optional chests when those no longer required. And if you're going to do optional chests, I don't think that's the best place to check for a ribbon. I think you want to check armory, you want to check a couple chests in earth first. And you can do that while you're clearing those dungeons. So basically what I'm saying is you want to be clearing the chests that are kind of on your mandatory path rather than going out of your way to check chests. Hey, good, great play. Really, really good. Lots of people forget to do this. Make sure you're using warp. That's like a huge, like 10-second time save. Well, maybe not 10 seconds, but it's a big time save. So you should likely be promoting here first, but if you're just not going to promote, this is fine. But when you're in the air, the order is usually Sarda, promote, bottle, slab, just like given the choice. Those are like the four things that you should be immediately thinking about when you get in the air. Earth Cave while you're nearby is a good play though, so I don't mind that. One of the issues with doing Earth now is you don't know if you're going to need to open more boxes. That's why I like to go do the like the sky play first or something where like I have to open the boxes. Well, first I would turn in all my incentive items, and then um yeah. Yeah, Shumbabi, to answer your question, it's kind of an it depends. I don't think levels for fighter comps matter as much because you're not getting things to run. So it's not really levels, and he's relatively safe. Like he's not really like 5 seconds away from dying. He's got pretty good levels, so I think this is a fairly safe dive. Um, the only real did you just forget to equip the ice armor? I think the question for me is more like I might delay it just so that way I can check chests if I haven't found a ribbon yet. By doing it first, I'm saying I'm not checking any chests here, which is likely the right decision, but I don't know yet. So I would probably go do my incentives, even if it involves like, an extra 20 seconds of flying. Um, Floaterless is a totally different scenario. If you think you're going to be floaterless, you always proximity do Earth because it's so much slower to get to. And a lot of the time when you're doing floaterless, you want to clear volcano when you're near ice, and you want to go Matoya dock from sky into um, Topher. So this is should be bottle turn in next or promotion, but fast was promotion lock. So if you did want to pick that up, you want to promote as soon as possible, right? Yeah, this is where promotion first is better. What are we doing? Okay, so slightly, I guess the proximity check didn't quite tune in for the feign check at the same time, but that's okay. So obviously some routing concerns here. The way that you want to view this, right? I do like the armory play here, by the way. This is just a pretty easy. Like these are such quick checks, but the way you want to do this, right, is the way I think about it. This is hard to do as a newer player, but you just picture all the things that you have to do, right? And what you have to do is Earth, Volcano, Slab Turn-In, Bottle Turn-In, Sky at some point, promotion, right? And then at this point when you're in the air, you want to say, what can I do safely? And if the answer is everything, then you just want to do them in as efficient order as possible. And generally speaking, you want to do the incentives first so you have as much information as possible before you do Sky. So I think the way I would have routed this, so I get in the air. The first thing I do is probably check Sarda. Then I would go promote. Then I would do bottle slab turn in. Oh no, you haven't translated the slab. So Sarda, Melmond, promote, bottle slab, and that's probably how I would have done it. Um, but yeah. So you're checking for a ribbon, that's fine. You're only coming down here once anyways, this is a lot of chests. And we use warp. I don't know why people forget to use warp by Sarda, but like they use warp there, but that's fine. We're going to go promote, right? Cool. So I saw your final time. I think it's pretty surprising. You must have a Topher wipe because I feel like you're in like exceptionally good shape for an hour in. Like this should be a pretty solid like hour 30 time, I would think, from your current position with your gear and everything. Oh, poor chain armor. So when you're checking level 8 magic, I mean, first off, don't. But second, you have to make sure that your mages are going to have casts of it, and I doubt you're going to be high enough level. But yeah, this is not a good enough reason why. You have life 2 at level 7. Cure 4 is not needed to win the game. You have heal 3. I I guess for me, so I know the reason I wouldn't check this is because I'm going into Topher at level 24. My knight's going to be level 24. My other mages probably aren't even going to be that high, so I'm not going to have charges of it. And I don't need charges of it. I just got life at level 7 anyways. But if you feel like you can't dive without Cure 4, then fair enough. There's a shop item for sale right now. Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Why are we looking for ribbons? We have a ribbon. You're in just like, you don't need to open any more boxes. You have a white mage with a ribbon. You have a knight who has a power bonk and a defense. You're super, super set for Topher. You just need some levels. So I guess you're thinking you need 2 ribbons, but that's definitely not the case with this party. Yeah, this is like way too much time being spent to try and buy Cure 4, which is not even that important. And way more important would be the shop item here. There's no black magic at level 8 that would be worth buying except for fast, and you've already seen fast. Didn't you? Did I miss the shop item? I think the shop item's there, isn't it? Or did you buy it already? So there's the chime. The shop item's either the cube or the... No? Okay. These fights aren't worth that much EXP, but it's not terrible. I guess at this point you're trying to like prepare for Topher, so you're trying to get some levels. Also, getting some additional levels before you go into Sky is good, because you want nuke charges, so... This fight's not worth it. Yeah, good. Okay, so that's a dud. Once again, you can use warp. Oh, you're checking. So my point still stands. Like, if you can remove level 7 and 8 magic shops from your eyes, unless you exclusively need life, which you did for level 7, and fast, which you did for level 7 as well, but those are the two spells that you need, and outside of those, there's like no other spells I would consider. Level 7, you need to be level 21 to get your first cast. So, oh, the White Mage has improved MP though. Okay, actually, the White Mage having improved MP does make Cure 4 a lot better. I should I should give credit where credit is due. I totally forgot the White Mage had improved MP though, and if you were considering that, then good on you. Okay, so you remember the shop item now, I assume. Okay, cool, and you get the tent. You get the cube. Nice. Okay, so we house. Good. Okay, and you're in go mode. Nice. Okay, so it looks like you did decide that you have enough gear with the single ribbon. Interesting. Okay, so this is the right decision, which I love that you made. It's just this is something I talk about in some of my other VOD reviews. It's just like it's a little bit more binary, and it's just like you made it at a funny time, right? Like you full cleared the dwarf armory, you cleared Northwest Castle checks, and then you decide that the chests in Sky you don't want. So just a little weird like that, but eh. I love the fact that you're like deciding that I don't need chests anymore and that I'm in go mode. So that's really really good. I'm super happy with that. And the fact that you calculated too that I don't need the item in Sky, that's all really really good. So big props. This fight's usually worth taking, but it's mediocre. I would be taking most fights here though because in go mode you're not going to be here that long and you need as many levels as you can get. I'm assuming you're about to go stationary grind somewhere though. After this is done. Which isn't the worst play, it's just a little bit slower. It just gives up some of the fighter advantages, but for the most part this has been fine. You definitely swing at this. Yep, good. Your auto mending is getting a lot better here, which actually is a good thing. It means you have potential to be a fast player in the future if you can make the decisions in the early game faster, because you are capable of menuing quickly um, when the decisions are clear to you, which they are right now. Right now, the decision is swing nuke, 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 nuke through basically everything. Yep, this is good. So your plan on Tia is probably your fighter has enough armor. It would probably be power bonk, nuke, fade, nuke, and then swing or something like that. But we'll see. You're running out of nukes though, so keep that in mind. Be very careful with your resource management in Sky in general. It's something I see new players get caught up on, but like you don't. I guess everything's unrunnable. Everything's runnable now, so it's not nearly so bad. But when you play with unrunnables, you really want to make sure you watch your nuke and fade charges. But in general, nuking and fading everything in Sky is a good play. I just noticed that you're getting like slightly low. Like you have like 6 nukes and fades total. Oh, is this the seed that you said there's a massive overgrind coming? Because like I'm expecting like an hour 30 time from your current setup. Like everything looks really, really good. You always keep something in your back pocket for boss. Okay, that's good. That's fair. You don't have any fade charges right on your white mage right now, so don't be afraid to just like menu to an item for your mages rather than casting Fire 3. Like the play there is to kill it, but you want to kill it with the Masa, which you definitely said, and then you just cast Fire 3 anyways. But it's actually faster to menu to an item if your menuing's fast enough and use the Masa than it is to like cast Fire 3. Okay, okay, this will work. Oh, that's super unfortunate. Yeah, you back up into Brax here. Oh, okay, cool. That was good. You had a solid plan there. If your fighter was a little bit worse armored, consider moving your fighter to slot 2 or slot 3 just to like decrease the number of hits it takes if you're going to all in on your fighter like that. But your fighter was relatively well armored, and Tia is not a massive melee threat, so picking up. Yeah, okay. Nothing here you care about. You're never going to cast level 6 zap, but that's fine. Good. 34. Oh, I think he bought Pures, but maybe the menu might have just been too fast. That's okay. Volcano's a good play. You've already done Earth, so you just need to. Oh no, you've already done Sea too. How did you not sub 90 of this? You need like 2 levels on your fighter. Ideally here, just as a heads up, what I would be trying to do is killing off both my black mages. So ideally here you want to kill off both your black mages so that way you can get levels exclusively on your knight and white mage to maximize the number of life casts, and your fighter's damage. Just a heads up. And carry's a really good way to do it because you can walk down on all the volcano tiles, put your black mages 1-2, and then likely they get punched and die, and you can just swing with your knight because carry can't really kill you. So that's what I would be considering here, but that is a little bit more of a more advanced strategy. Like it has like it's not just like an immediate tactical decision. It's actually a little bit longer term, so I know that can be a harder thing to consider. But what I'm thinking right here is my knight needs 2 more levels. I want some more charges of life 2 on my white mage, which means I want those 2 exclusively to get levels, which means I want to kill my black mages off so I can get a few levels on them before I go into Topher. But it looks like instead you're going to full party grind with spike tiles, which I think is also a totally valid play. This is not a great spike tile, but I guess it will do. You've done that a few times. You always seem to walk extra steps up and down. I don't know why, but anyways, that's fine. It doesn't bother me as long as it's just like inputting funny. But like it's if that's like your decision, that's where I'm more concerned. Wow, these suck. These sea snakes have infinite HP. Okay, so you're level 24, so you're basically good to go. You did a good job of getting some levels through Sky, which is really nice. And see, like you walk and ground pretty well. Um, it's that's why like checking the quote unquote spike tiles isn't as big of a deal. But I'm okay with like checking a few here. That's an odd greed chest to check. Why are we? So do you not? I guess I'm guessing the thought that's going through your mind is you're not comfortable going into Topher with this party at level 24. So you're like you actively want more levels. That's I'm assuming why you're checking these tiles and things. Because otherwise there's no reason really to do so. There's only one unique tile down here. Oh, that's a bad one. So here, oh, you want to probably cast Warp there, but I guess if you want to take these on the way out. So I think this is just like comes down to like, what's my win condition? How am I gonna? What's the plan for Topher? And with a Masa and a fighter and temper available and a defense, um, the win condition is very clear. It's just fighter, Masa, defense, temper, lock, win. And you have nukes and fades as backup too. So like already at this point, I already have like my fiend plans kind of in mind, right? So For Lich, it's going to be Moss's Swing, Harm 4, Fire 3, or Fire 2, Fire 2. Doesn't really matter. For carry, it's going to be Swing, Nuke, Fade. For Kraken, it's probably Nuke, Fade, Power Bonk, maybe? Or Nuke, Fade, Swing is also viable. And then on Tia, it's probably Temper, um, one cast a defense or something like that is kind of what I would be thinking. And then Chaos, of course, full defensive with like defenses and invises. Those are kind of like what my plan for Topher would be right now. Oh, is your Massa -1? If your Massa's -1, your fighter needs one more level. But no, you have 5 hits. You're good. And then you have like 4 casts of fast, so fast isn't really a limiting factor. Yeah, you did buy Piers last time. That's funny. Oh well. Good. I like the Topher prep. Nice. Let's go into Topher, right? Nice. Okay, something's gonna go wrong. I'm sorry. I've been telling you that you can go fast and you're gonna wipe, aren't you? But we'll see why. Don't take fights. Whoa, 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 whoa. Unless you're grinding. But like you never want to be burning your nukes and fades on here. What's going on? Are you grinding? Oh, you're grinding. Ew, I see. Okay, so I actually like the innovation here to go to Topher to get your levels. This isn't a bad idea to get your levels. I disagree with the idea that you need levels, but in terms of like, I need a few more levels, how am I going to get them? This is a pretty good idea. So, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Because, yeah, okay, that's fair. But at least, I mean, you made a decision, and the way that you're going after that decision isn't terrible. So how high do you go? Okay. So you took about 4 minutes of levels. You went to 27. One thing that I really think about when I'm doing grinds is like, what am I trying to grind for? There's a few things to consider: spell charges, weapon breakpoints, and HP. Usually one of those 3 things is the reason you're grinding. It's either 400 HP on my white mage, it's extra breakpoint on my knight, or it's I need more fast or life charges. So that's what I would be thinking. But as you said, it looks like you would just normally dive. So and now you're running from everything, which is good. So your decisions were okay. I disagree perhaps with the strategic implication, but the tactical play was good. Okay, and then we're going to slow it down for your Topher bosses because I'm curious on what you're going to be doing there. Yeah, I think it's because you had like a fixation on like that Cure 4, right? And you were like, "Oh, I need those spell charges." That's fair. I just don't think you need Cure 4 to win with this particular party. You have a ribbon, you have enough life charges, you have fast, you have a Masa. Like the Topher dive is kind of like a cup, right, of like safety, and like everything you get kind of adds to that cup. And you have so many tools right now. Masa is huge, defense is huge, ribbon is huge. Those are by itself basically enough. And then the fact you also have power bonk, you also have cure 4, you also have life 2, you also have etc. But that really just comes down to experience. So like it can be really hard for a newer player to like determine exactly when they're safe for Topher and when they're not. And like you're gonna have it all the time. They're like, oh, I thought this was terrible or I thought this was totally safe, and then the more experienced player will be like, of course it was not safe, or of course it was safe, and it's like very obvious to them, but it's not, of course, obvious to you. So the only piece of advice I have is to just make sure your decision making is deliberate and you're saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to dive Topher because I have this, and this. So that way, even if you're wrong, you can at least post and say, this is what I had, this is the decision I made. What do people think? Rather than just like, I'm going to dive Topher because, or just like, I think I'm good, I'm going to go for like no reason. So just like be deliberate, and then that will help you, at least it will help you improve. Oh boy, that was just unfortunate. You made no wrong plays there, just unfortunate. Yeah, this is a super safe dive. Of course, I said that, so you're probably gonna wipe, but Good, good, good respecting of the Lich. I don't love using nukes here, but it's okay. You have a lot of charges of them, and you have so many extra levels that I think it's fine. But if you're diving here at level 24 and nukes like level 3 or 4, you really don't want to be using nukes because you might want them for later fiends. That was not so Carry could definitely melee down your mages, and also right now your white mage could get nuked for 400. So this is the type of play where you're like 80% of the time, 90% of the time you're not going to get punished, but the 10% of the time you do, it's a wipe, and that loses you the race. So definitely heal before carry. So carry at 100 to 150% scaling, you basically always want to speed and power. Invis 2 is just like carry dies on turn 2 100% of the time with nuke, fade, nuke, swing, assuming they all go off. So you just want to always go swing, nuke, fade, nuke. Carry's actually the easiest boss in Topher, assuming you have casts of nuke, because you always just nuke her. Fire 3 is fair here to try and save some charges, especially if you were calculating her HP. But that's actually a situation where that exact spot is where you want to use Quad X. Ooh, nice ambush. Here are some really important steps to save along the bottom of these walls, because seafloor is terrifying. So just like those are really really important ones. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, this play might work. You're probably going to go full defensive, in which case this almost certainly will work. But if Kraken first turn punches your knight out, which he can do, because it's 200% stats max, right? So Kraken can have twice as many hits and do twice as much damage, which will guarantee one punch your knight. This is worst case scenario planning, right? That's awful. You're probably going to be going defense like nuke, invis 2, or actually thinking of how you played, you're probably going defense temper, invis 2 temper. But just think of the worst case scenario, right? Where Kraken turn 1 punches your knight and you get no turn order, and then you just tempered invis 2 tempered, and then you're just dead. So in this situation, you basically always want to put black mage, white mage, knight, and then defense and Viz 2 with your white mage, and then um, tempers or nukes with your this. Or you can keep this as is, but if you keep this as is, you got to go speed and power. So you want to be going swing, nuke, fade, nuke, and try and kill Kraken the same way you kill carry. Yeah. So the issue with this is that you're all inning on your just so you know the issue with this is that you're all inning on your knight, and your knight can get turn one punched out. If you moved your knight to the bottom and did this exact same play, it would be fine. Heal threes, yeah, that's fine too. Yeah, that's a good play. There. That right there is what could have gone horribly wrong. Now, of course, it happened turn two. Your white mage survived a punch. Lots of things went right, but like your white mage was wearing opal bracelet, which was lucky, and your knight barely survived that punch. But that fight was you won it because you were over leveled. But if you were 24, you could very easily wipe there. Once again, the play wasn't terrible. I just don't think it was like accounting for the worst case scenario very well. Accounting for the worst case scenario isn't the right play. It's more like on the spectrum, that play had not as many, it wasn't as good of a spectrum of outcomes as another play. Because you don't want to just account for the worst case, you need to account for best cases as well. You need to like account for the whole spectrum and say which spectrum of plays from worst case to best case do I prefer. And I think the knight in the back row one is definitely preferred because knight going down turn one there is just so bad. Tia's different with the amount of armor you have on your knight in the levels. Tia keeping your knight in slot one is 100% fine. This in general is just exactly what I would do. Wow, that's really bad luck. You want to cure four here, keeping no no. So here you need to cast cure four. Yes, cure four is valuable, but you still have two. Um, if your white mage goes down here, it's miserable. And if he casts nuke or nuclear, and you cure three and don't heal your white mage enough, it's gonna feel really bad. But you won anyways. once again, this is not saying that these plays aren't going to work or what you're doing is like awful. It's just those are the types of things where it makes the difference between a wipe or not a wipe in Topher. And it's something that you really do find. Like when I was in the Duck Derby, I wiped in Topher so much, and so did all the other ducks with me. But then as you get more experience, you find Topher wipes still occur, but you can really decrease the chances of them happening by making better decisions in Topher. How can you wipe to chaos? If you don't move the ribbon onto your knight, that's one way you can wipe in chaos. Nuke nuke wipes most parties in chaos. Keeping your knight in slot 1 is how you wipe in chaos. No, okay, so here you definitely want to move your ribbon to your knight. Your knight can solo chaos with his current gear. Defense, 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 power bonk, power bonk, power bonk, power bonk, and your knight can beat chaos. Your white mage can't do anything if it's by itself. So the ribbon needs to go onto your knight here. Even if your white mage has wall, you still move the ribbon onto your knight, and then you just cast wall turn 1 on your white mage. But the reason you put the ribbon on the knight is because if chaos opens with turn 1 zap or turn 1 bane, it's a disaster if your knight goes down. Um, so yeah, just keep that in mind. Was probably just rushing. Yeah, that's fine. Did you? Okay, yeah, power block temper fast is good. You should probably cast a lock here instead of more tempers, but it's okay either way. Turn 1, with your knight in slot 1, you almost certainly should be defensing rather than power bonking. The reason is because you want to conserve its HP total, and you want to get your knight up to max evade as soon as possible. Your black mages, while they're alive, can contribute tempers, and you can always temp power bonk later if you need it. If you think about it, if you need to power bonk early or defense early, yes, you're invis 2 which helps, but you likely want to be going defense turn 1 and then power bonk turn 2, just so that way your knight gets up to 3 stacks of evade, which means chaos is like very, very unlikely to be able to kill your knight in even 2 punches. Okay, so you did cast wall. So you did make the right adjustment, but it's just the probabilities just there was more situations where the other way would have been better. So here's where not having defense on your knight's really unfortunate. Also, your knight is getting 2 hits right now, um, and it should be getting 10. So locks are going to do way more than tempers. Okay, so you're casting lock. Good, good, good. So this chaos fight could have gone very, very badly if different things happened. Uh, yeah, the super light cure 4, and also just defensing on your knight would have made that fight incredibly safe. If your knight went down there, you might have been able to nuke and fade your way through, but it would have been super, super sketchy. Defense turn 1 on your knight, and that all goes away. So turn 1 there is defense, temper, invis 2, fast, assuming your ribbon's on your knight, or defense, temper, wall on your white mage, fast. Then turn 2 is probably defense again, lock, invis 2, lock. And then turn 3 maybe is power bonk, but if your white black mages have survived the whole time, you just swing. Hopefully that all kind of makes sense. But this is a great time. This is a sub 90, which is really, really, really good for a new player. I mean, obviously I nitpicked a lot, but your overall play is quite good. I don't know how long you've been playing for, but I want to say I've started seeing you in the community like a month-ish ago, maybe a couple months at most. Um, so this is obviously a great improvement, and you're going to kick some butt at the Duck Derby at this rate. Though, like Sir Lancelot joined like 3 weeks before the Duck Derby itself actually started, like 3 weeks with 3 weeks left in the Duckling boot camp. So, and he improved really, really fast. So you can't sit on your laurels. But yeah, 2 weeks ish. Yeah, yeah. Though obviously, if I think I maybe did have a sub 90 time in 2 weeks, but like still, that's a like incredibly good improvement. Hopefully, I gave you some things to think about. Do you have any kind of questions or anything? I feel like this wasn't my best VOD review. I feel like I had some, like I was generally more negative than I am normally, but I think it's because there was like your gameplay is very polarizing. You make like really good decision, then you make some like really like odd decisions to me. So it was just like when you made the odd decision, it like stood out more, and I think I was more negative because of it. But I do want to say that like this is not meant in any way, shape, or form to be like, oh, you're trash at this game or anything like that. I think it's just like there's areas that I'm seeing where you can definitely um, make some improvements and just hopefully take that next step.